Andrea, finally, whatever, a month and a half into the year, we're getting our first mystery, and it's a Hannah Swensen. We're in Minneapolis, Lake Eden. So we got to see what you think. I'm excited to talk about this one. I've got thoughts. How about you?
Me too. That's why I have my cafe background at least. That's kind of fun.
Perfect. Well, this is Eric.
This is Andrea.
And this is Hallmark Mysteries and more.
More.
This podcast was created by fans for fans and is not affiliated with or sponsored by Hallmark or the Hallmark channel.
Well, before we get into talking about Hannah and Dolores and Norman and the rest, what do you think about Mystery Island coming next month, March 13th, with Kristen Booth?
Yay. I'll watch it. It's a new mystery. So, hey, there's that. Like that makes me excited.
You know, I really liked it.
I
Now,
know.
did you hate it, or was it just not like your
Yeah,
fave?
this is one of my least favorite. So, yeah,
Okay.
this is bottom of the barrel
What?
for me.
Okay, because I know, you did not like Jazz Ramsey. You did not like
No.
Gilded Mysteries, right? I didn't know if this was
Correct.
just sort of
No, this would be
wasn't my thing.
above
I'm
that
more ambivalent.
quality wise. I just didn't enjoy it. But yes, this would be a notch above those two. So
Okay.
not that much better. But we also are getting more Haunted Harmonies supposedly as well. So that makes me excited. So that one I am,
Yes.
and it looks like she's over there for like Tamara's over there for long enough to shoot 2 movies. So I'm hopeful that we're going to get at least 2 Haunted
Well,
Harmonies,
according to
hopefully
Georgia,
this
who pays
year.
attention to because she sends us those things, it looks like she said it's like potentially 3 movie
That'd be
duration.
awesome. That would be awesome.
But it could also just be because it's, over there and the scouting and
The
things like that. So
flying.
maybe
Yeah.
whatever, it's a
Travel
little
days.
different. It's not actual shooting. So who
Yeah.
knows? But I think it is at least 2.
Well, and listening to obviously, your interviews with Dylan, like filming overseas is cheaper. And so that's where I'm assuming we're going to see probably more of that, which it already seems like we have, from January, the Winter Escape. A lot of overseas movies. Looks like we're getting royal movies for the rom-com in March, which I think some of those probably will be overseas. So
No,
I
no,
think that
no.
we're going to get those. And Mystery Island, that's overseas. So I think they're kind of pushing that. True Detective.
True
What was that?
Justice,
True Justice. It looks like potentially we're getting that as well. Did you
right?
see?
Yep.
And so I don't know where that's being filmed or where they're location wise
I
for
think that's
that.
like an Ottawa one.
Okay. So yeah, we're getting some more of that, it looks like. So I am glad we're getting some more mysteries and getting some of the same ones, so we're getting not just a brand new wheel to invest in, we're getting some repeats to kind of see, do we want to go down that road or not? Because again, like I will give Mystery Island another chance and maybe I'll like this one better because I didn't like the first Curious Caterers, like, and
Right.
I really enjoy it. And so sometimes it will spin on you once you kind of get used to some of the characters and the direction they're going. So I'll give it a chance. Well, do you want to dive into an oldie?
An oldie.
Well, Hannah Swensen. This is
Oh,
like
you mean
a
just a mystery that I see what you
just
mean.
it's been around. This is
Yeah,
an
yeah. I
oldie.
thought you meant like oldies will be next week when we go back to an actual
Garage
old,
sale. No.
mystery.
No,
But yeah, I see
this
what you
is
mean.
an
Just
old,
a
I mean,
legacy.
this is one of the first and only, I think, one of the originals that are still left that they're
That are
still
right.
producing.
Unless you're
So,
going back way, way to that like first era with Mystery Woman and
no,
Jane
no, no, no.
Doe's. But
I mean,
that
they're not
like
making those. No.
right, those but that was like a pre Hallmark mystery.
Correct.
Like
I
I guess
don't
when it
include
became
those in
movies and
those.
mysteries, like I would say the modern day mystery. So yeah.
I mark Garage Sale as like their first kind of
Yeah. And this
new
wasn't
new
much
one for them.
longer after I think Garage Sale, I
No,
don't think.
this was second. Like this was like the next one. So Hannah's been around for a while. Obviously, Murder She Baked came first. So Hannah Swensen, Reality Bites, and this is one that for me, I will just before I read the recap, just to kind of show where we stand on these as a series. I love Murder She Baked. Hannah Swensen. I liked a couple of them, haven't liked some of the more recent ones. Obviously, now we have a cast change with Cameron out and, Vic Webster in. That is now on the third time we've had Vic in a movie with Hannah. I have thoughts now because, again, we're having time to develop with these
No,
characters.
isn't it the second time?
No, this is his third because he was in two. He was in that one Bad Apple and then the deceitful one, Forbidden Fruit. Is that it? Or was
No,
that
Forbidden
the garage
Fruits.
sale?
I think
Yeah, this is his. I'm pretty sure this is his third. I will
I thought One
verify.
Bad Apple was the one right before this.
No, we missed one when I went and looked at I looked at all of them. A Sprinkle of Deceit. We missed that one. So this is the third one with Vic. So yeah, I have some thoughts on that. What maybe I would want to see in the future. But what about you? Kind of where is your
Well,
take
I'm a
on
little
Hannah
different than you because I think you liked like you said, you liked the Murder She
original
Baked
more?
more, and I
Yes.
liked the
Okay.
Hannah Swensens more. So we're kind of in opposite tracks here, and judging by your tone, I think we may be in opposite tracks of this one too.
Yeah, okay. Well, here is the recap. Hannah's favorite reality show takes over the cookie jar. When the producer is found dead, Hannah and Norman team up to track down the killer. Chad invites Hannah to court. Okay, well, I give this one, I was between a 2.5 and a 3 out of 5 stars for me. This was not my favorite.
For anyone not on YouTube watching this, I have a very disgruntled, angry look on my face right now as she is talking. So,
I mean, I here's what I kind of enjoyed. I enjoyed Dolores's yoga attire and the yoga retreat wife angle. Of course, that's going to speak to me since I teach yoga. I liked that they had that intro baking scene where they kind of lay that over and it's threaded throughout kind of what setting up the movie. Now, in the earlier movies, they did that more often and they had her baking more. I wish they would have baked more because they didn't really have a ton of baking in it. We had talked about this. I put this out on my personal Instagram account because I am from Minnesota. They said chocolate mashed potato cake is a big Minnesotan thing. That's why they made this recipe. I had never heard of it. My husband hadn't. So then I was like, you know what? Let me ask my seasonal Andrea Instagram people because I have a lot of Minnesotans. Not one person from Minnesota had heard of it. And nobody from out of Minnesota had heard of it. So nobody had ever heard of this before. So I thought that was a strange recipe to throw in there. I feel like we have some other unique recipes that they could have used because, again, a quick fact check, you'd be like, nobody knows what that is. This is a big one for me. I'm not enjoying the Chad angle of it how is an attorney being pulled into these movies? It just doesn't make as much sense as Mike being a cop. Like how they're making this fit does not fit for me. He's kind of being pulled in, but that's not actually what an attorney is going to be doing. And so he is kind of thrown into and it's not obviously Vic Webster's fault, but it's just like, why is he in these movies in this capacity? I also found the pacing to be odd. It didn't feel necessarily slow, but the scenes that they went from one to the next, it feels like somebody had like a script and they kind of like threw the papers up and then like jumbled them together. And it didn't seem very coherent to me. I felt like them trying to connect two cases with like, here, we're going to connect Chad's case because he is an attorney to what Hannah's trying to do it's not needed and it's not convenient. Like there's only so many times you're going to be able to do that before you're like, these aren't always going to connect. So I don't like that. They aren't giving Vic Webster enough to do. I don't think his character, like I don't really enjoy him, to be honest, in these movies, not Vic himself as the actor, but like his character, because we're not getting enough from him. Like they're just throwing him in there in random scenes and I don't know anything about him. Like his personality is just very bland and I know nothing about his background besides like him just coming in and saying a few things about the cases. I know a lot of people didn't like Dolores, but I feel like they toned down her antics this movie compared to other ones. I think she's fine. I find her to be delightful still. But yeah, I have enough of the other gripes. I did like Norman. Norman for me is my big him and Hannah need to be together. Like that seems like a better relationship. I don't know what happened to his fiance or what's happening there because that was kind of mum's the word. during this movie. So again, I had a lot of thoughts. I watched it twice. I struggled the first time and I'm like, okay, I'm going to try to watch it again. Maybe it was just that first time because as I've said before, I've changed my mind after watching it twice. I still have these thoughts. I just don't know if I'm liking the direction I'm seeing it going. And then as we had talked about, when is enough? Maybe we're at that place with Hannah for myself. So that was a lot of thoughts. But as you can see, like, again, this one went from being one of my favorites to now being like, oof, do I need more? I don't know. What about you, Eric? Take us
I
up.
I have a nice solid 4 for me. I liked it. Um, I really like Allison's written the last two, and I like her writing. I still think Sprinkle of Deceit was before, and then it was One Bad Apple, but because I thought she'd written in the last two, but
No, it was
whatever.
One Bad Apple was first, but keep
And
going.
then I liked Victor, but as you're saying that, I do see your point because think about the whole Law and Order premise, right? It's the cops investigate it, and then when they get the bad guy, then the DA takes over at that point, right? And then, it's about the trial and convicting. And so you're right. It maybe is, you're investigating the shenanigans, but this one, it kind of also worked because he was doing his one case, and it just happened to be the crossover for myself. But part of the reason why I really like this one so much is the cooking show premise. I love me cooking shows. So it was just right there. It's like you stick something in a barn and wherever, and you're going to be liking it. For me, you got the cooking show.
But they
I,
barely showed it. Like it was
it
like
didn't, it was the premise,
a
and you had the
one like 5 minute
character,
thing.
and they showed it. They showed the behind the scenes about how she like doesn't really do the cooking and she's just really the personality. Loved the little thing when she dumps the whatever the blueberry stuff on Hannah's head. I thought that was funny. I agree with you. I thought at the beginning was I really liked the intrigue of where they're showing her making the blueberry pie while the robberies, the jewels are getting stolen. And I found it, which probably made everyone else fascinating because when I make a pie and I do lattice, I do it like right on top of the pie, whereas she did it on the side and then transferred on top of the pie. Never thought about doing that, so maybe I'll do that next time I make a little pie. I thought that her jacket, like you obviously live in Minnesota and I'm off here in Arizona, so my winter clothes aren't there. But that coat she wore, that like knee length coat, it just reminded me back of being, from Michigan, and like that is that look that you wear there because it's just about being warm and everything like that. And I thought she pulled it off, and even Dolores made fun of her for her look when she's like, "Oh, it's vintage" and all that. But I found it really, really fun. I do find in this, like you say, when is enough enough? The Lake Eden having yet another murder, and I understand it's the premise, would say Murder She Baked, so it's got to happen. As all the books of Murder She Baked, it kept happening and stuff. But it's like Lake Eden, and not only is murders over there, and there's jewel thieves taking place and all that too. So it seems like Lake Eden is just a really dangerous and high crime place to live if you really are, kind of putting a little bit of reality into what's going on. But who cares about that? Um, I loved April Tulloch as I thought like her portrayal of Connie Mack. She just nailed that. So I thought that was pretty good. And then the whole, like I said, even though you didn't think it had a lot of the show in there, I thought they did because they had the producer, they had the food, the menu, the guy, they had her assistant. So I thought they did a really good job. And then one of the things I really liked was it was like the whole gang on this one was in on solving it. It wasn't just Hannah. Like kind of everybody had their part in it, especially Norman. And like when the dental scene when they were doing that and at the dentist and he could like totally understand the people talking as and then he would translate it and do that. I liked it. And then Norman being involved all the way to the end of taking the bullet it kind of made me laugh because it was a similar type thing. I was thinking about if it was Henry would have had the pot to deflect the bullet or had something, right? But no, in this one, he gets shot. So I thought that was pretty good. And I'm going to say there's a great scene in there when Hannah, Michelle, Dolores, and Norman were all sitting around the kitchen discussing the case. And then there's like this inspirational music that's playing and, do, 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 as they're talking about it. And then Dolores says, we can't just wish or hope. We're going to have to work on this one. And Hannah's like, is Churchill? And Dolores says, no, Estee Lauder. And then the music goes, like you got the scratch. And then it goes back to the inspirational. I thought that was like just such a little thing, but it was a great thing. So I loved that scene. I also had on my note there is like, yeah, where is Norman's girlfriend? Because they were getting hot and heavy, and we haven't seen her in like episodes, not like just the last one. It's been a couple since we really had it there. So, like I say, I enjoyed it because I think I just really liked the premise of it being the celebrity cooking show because once again, I watched those and I got that vibe throughout the entire movie for me. So you may not, you obviously didn't get it. For me, I did get it.
No, I got it. And I like those. I just think that overall, they're not developing the characters very well. That's my thoughts.
I
Mystery
won't
Man.
lie. I do think you're right. Like Chad's sort of hopping in and out, but I would
Yes,
like to see because that was one of my
I
things going back to his other one, the what was
the
the
sprinkle of deceit
no the
and
other
bad
mystery.
apple.
No, the one with Danica
Matchmaker.
Patrick, Matchmaker
Matchmaker.
Mysteries. Like he was underutilized in that one too because he is like one of the better actors, right? Just when we put in the talent. So I would like to see Victor a little more involved as well too. So I'm
I
with
mean,
you
they
on
had
that.
Cameron was more involved in the movies, and I don't know why they're not
So
putting him. But again, it's hard to connect with the profession they
yeah,
gave
because he's
him.
not out.
How does it
He's
make
not out
sense?
trying to solve the case,
So I
right?
don't know why
He's
they gave him that profession if that was going to be a struggle. So for me, Mystery Minute, I didn't guess the killer just because I wasn't paying attention enough that first time. I was like, oh, it's the main male cook. That's what I was thinking. But then watching it again, I'm like, oh yeah, I could see how they laid down the hints when you're watching to see who the killer actually was, how they connected it back to them. But again, I don't enjoy that they're trying to connect like the DA's office, and trying to connect it to what Hannah's doing. I don't mind the small town murders, obviously, with Cabot Cove. Like you just suspend your disbelief because
right.
that's just what you do with the cozy mystery genre. But I don't know. I'm kind of at the point where I'm like, could I, if Hannah ends with this one, that's okay. That's okay for me. So
And bring back some more Chronicle. Great idea.
I would take more Hannah, I think, over Chronicle. I mean, I like Benjamin Ayres. Gosh, that'd be tough. No, I think I would. We can start something new. I'll take another new wheel. Thanks. What did you think for the mystery?
So for the mystery, it's kind of like we talked about before. It was interesting that they connected the two cases and why they were associated. But it was something about just the character. I knew right away that it was her, the sidekick to whatever the assistant. I guess she was the costumer, but she seemed more like Connie Mac's assistant than
Yeah.
her whatever wardrobe person. But I just knew. Now, granted, her being having the affair with the guy, didn't expect that. And then I kind of thought it was going to be somehow, yeah, related, and that's what it turned out to be. So as far as that goes, whatever, take it or leave it. But um, like I said before, I liked the fact that everyone was involved, and I found that fun that everybody had a role in this one. Certain parts that they have to do. So I liked it. Like I say, was it one of the best mysteries? No, but overall, it worked. It kept things for me moving along and justifying the rest of what we had going on.
Well, romance roundup. Again, I said I prefer right now Hannah and Norman just because we're not getting a ton with Chad. Like we're getting a few scenes here and there. But like her and Norman have just natural chemistry, whether it be even that friends vibe, but like friends that you can also see being like, yeah, you guys could be long-term partners because they just have that just comfortable relationship and just how they worked together and in their scenes at the dentist office and getting shot and be like, you get free cookies for the
That's who
rest of your
Dolores
life.
wanted all along.
So that to me, that's fun. Will they do again another love triangle? I don't know, again, because they didn't really talk about what's happening with Norman's fiance. I think wasn't it fiance?
No, I think they were just girlfriend, boyfriend.
Yeah, I'd have to go back and watch
Yeah, I don't know.
the older ones. So yeah, it is what it is for me with that one. What about you?
So for me, I kind of liked seeing Hannah because in the previous with Mike and Norman, they were like kind of all pursuing and she was dangly and this, that, and the other. I kind of like seeing Hannah on the other side where she was clearly like in awe of Chad. And so I think she is I don't want to say necessarily the pursuer, but you definitely get the thing where she's liking there. And I liked when, he asked her to come to court and, watch stuff and she was kind of giddy over it. And I think, was it to see the actual, how the trial process works? Yeah, a little bit, but I think she was excited that she asked because, it's like, oh, what are you doing, next week? And she's like, well, I get off at this time. And she's like, given the night, he's like, about the day. And she's like, oh, right. So there's that. But then at the end, really, I thought it was a really cute ending where they're walking and it's all right, that's a deal as far as they're going to get together again. And he's like, no, it's not a deal, it's a date. So I thought that was cute that he did the intentions. But now that you're mentioning it and you're kind of ruining it for me because you're pulling me down with a little bit. I think
Sorry.
Victor's kind of a chill guy in
Yeah.
general, but I do think he needs to be inject a little more life into him in this role and stuff. He's a little too maybe chill, but I still like it, and I thought it was cute. I do think, to your point, though, I think her and Norman throughout the entire thing, it's kind of like when we go to our pond talk, and Elliot and whatchamacallit, Kat don't necessarily have the greatest chemistry, but then you see them with the other ones, you're like, ooh, that's some good chemistry. So I don't know. I don't know. Hopefully, we weren't feeling it all in Curious Cater, and then when they finally turned it on, they did turn it on. And we know that Victor can do chemistry with Allison. We know that, that can happen. So
Well, character corner. For me, Norman or the producer who was killed are my picks, or kind of the scene of them together. When Norman and the producers like he gave nuts to Hannah and then like Norman's hand. I mean, it was a really quick little scene, but like Norman went up to be like, yeah, nuts for me. And no, and then he like played it down, like, chill. Okay, cool. And like just that young kid attitude that the producer was giving off. And like Norman was trying to be like, yeah, okay, I'm hip. I know what this
right.
is. And totally wasn't. And I'm like, I can relate to that myself being in my 40s and being like, I don't know what some of this stuff is anymore now that I'm 20 years older than these young kids nowadays. I don't keep up with it all. So I liked that as those two together. I thought that was great. And then listening to your interview with Vic and having him say that, Norman, I can't remember
Gabriel
his name. Yes,
Hogan.
Gabriel Hogan, that he is actually just naturally funny, which I feel like that scene, you could see that just like the comedic timing that he has of like, I mean, that was great. So for me, that was my standout scene / duo characters for myself. What about you?
Mine was April Tulloch as Connie Mack. I thought she just totally owned that role of just being the like, I'm out of touch, I'm above everyone, I'm just everything. And then her voice was so perfect. And she's been in Garage Sale Mysteries 3 times. She was in Cut Color Murder. She was in the Gilded Age. She was the aunt, whatever in there. And I don't ever recall her voice being like so noticeable. But in this one, for me, she just it there's something just about it that just screamed like out of touch celebrity to me. And I just thought she played this role absolutely perfectly. And I know she wasn't necessarily supposed to be likable per se, but I liked her even when she was dumping, you know, blueberry pie on Hannah's head. I thought she was just absolutely fantastic in this movie.
Well, Hallmark trivia. Hopefully you have better stuff than me. I was kind of like looking through, and my trivia is this movie is actually based on the third book, Blueberry Muffin Mystery, which I find interesting that obviously these are not whatsoever in order.
Right.
And, we had talked about how they just pick maybe just a little bit from the book, which I feel like that's where the blueberry pie maybe came in. And maybe that's the only thing about the book to this movie that are similar, because obviously there was no Chad in the books. So
Right.
what do you know
Well,
anything about that? Have you
I
read?
read the book a while ago,
Yeah.
and I don't recall it
Anything being
being
similar?
a celebrity TV thing coming there. I could be wrong because I read it a while ago and they kind of blend together maybe, but I do not recall it being this. So I think it is we took the name and maybe
Blueberry pie, and that was
some
it.
little thing.
Yeah. What do you got?
So for me, and it came from Victor Webster's story on Instagram, which I don't know if people saw, but it
I
was a
did
nice
not.
little nod when he comes. Hannah's waiting for him in the hall, and he comes out. Chad comes out and sees her. He like looks over his shoulder as he's talking to somebody off screen, and he's like, "Oh yeah, do this, and tell Rose hi." And Rose it was an ad lib, and Rose is his mom. So he threw in a little
Oh,
ad lib nod
cute.
to his mom, which I think was
That's
very cute.
cute.
So
Oh,
if you saw it on Victor's
did not.
in his Instagram story, you know what I'm talking about. But if you didn't, that's a nice little behind the scene thing there. I should have asked him, by the way, when I was talking to him for some behind the scenes, which I didn't.
Yeah.
I usually do.
Well, Hallmark and Chill. I just watched this Murder She Wrote episode today, actually. Season 4, episode 8. Steal Me a Story. I had not seen this episode. I actually could not remember this episode at all. A bomb kills a TV producer who
Did you just watch
stole
it
a
because of the
plot.
sorry, did you watch it because of the description or was it just coincidentally you watched it?
Eric, if you would let me finish my description, you'll hear a bomb kills a TV producer who stole a plot from one of Jessica's books. So I saw the TV producer and I thought, well, let me give this episode a watch. And usually I remember
Okay.
what's happening as soon as I start it. And then I was like, oh, actually don't remember anything about this episode. Because sometimes right now I can just kind of skip around on Peacock. Back in when I just watched it on DVDs, obviously I watched them in order, but now I skip around a lot and I could not recall this one. And I'm like, oh, that's a good one. I was thinking of a different one, but when I watched it, this fits because of the TV producer.
You said season 4?
Season 4,
Okay.
episode 8.
How many seasons were there again?
12.
12. Okay, so it's
So,
right
early
about
on.
the second,
Kind of
third,
the height.
or second quarter.
Yeah.
Okay.
What about you?
Well, I'm going to stay in the Hannah Swensen world and go back to the Murder She Baked and go to Just Desserts. And that was when they were doing the TV. They were having like the cooking contest on there with the local celebrities all cooking their thing, and then they were, getting killed there. So once
With
again,
the
I like
guy
me.
who is the murderer, who is always cast as the murderer. That's who it was.
It was, yeah, you're right. Well, I forget what's it. He's got the three person name, right?
Yes. Yes.
But yeah,
You know who we're
so
talking about.
if you like your Hannah Swensen, you're watching this and you want to watch some more, you go back there, you get sort of the same little vibes. Personally, I like this one better, but that
Personally, I
one, by
liked
the
the
way,
first one better. I liked the
that
first
one
one better.
was much closer to the book, because it did have like the local. I don't know which one it was based off of, but it did have the local, contestants and things like that. So it was similar in that aspect. But yeah, so you like this one, or you want another hand like for you? Maybe you didn't like it, but you like the kind of cooking show contest thing.
Yeah, I
Go
preferred
go
the
watch that
first
one.
one. Yeah. Well, Fan Corner, this is only 3 hours into my poll, but here is the results thus far for how many people liked this movie. 5 out of 5, 19%. 4 out of 5, 48%. 3 out of 5, 19%, and 1 or 2 star, 14%. So it's kind of a little all over, obviously heavier on the 4 out of 5, but we'll see as the poll goes on. I'm assuming numbers will probably be around that. So more people liked it more than personally I did, and that's fine.
Well, we got a message, a DM over on Instagram from Julie Lockhart, who just wanted to let us know that she recommended a Canadian murder mystery series that's on Amazon Prime that she thinks that we would like, and it's called Wild Cards. I did not watch it. I did go over there and I added it to my list to watch, but I got so many things I'm watching right now, I don't really have the free time. But for sleuthers who, maybe looking for something else to do a little binging of, I believe it's just one season. I glanced at it. It looks like it's one season. And Wild Cards on Amazon Prime. Give it a go. So
I like it.
Yeah.
Thanks for the recommendation. I'll check that out. I got Amazon Prime. Well, next week, what we have coming up, we have obviously on Monday, we'll have Our Way Home and Spencer Sisters. And then on Wednesday, we are going to do, I at first was thinking it was this week, but next week, Dylan will actually be on Friday. Just kidding, everyone. It's going to be on Friday. And then we'll have our Spencer Sisters, and we will have our garage sale, the novel Murders, which is Steve Basic's favorite. We're finally getting to review that one. It's kind of been on our docket and it kept getting pushed down. So we're going to dive into that. So if anyone is a fan of garage sale, it will be the novel Murders. And then we have an interview that I believe Eric has already recorded it.
Yep.
Do you want to say anything about it?
All right, so we've interviewed some really cool people, some great stars, but this one to me was so next level. It was Leah Thompson. She's Victoria and Spencer Sisters, and being a Gen X guy, like it took me all the way back to the original 1980 days with her when, I was in my late teens and crushing hard on Leah Thompson. And fortunately, like I literally was unable to speak when it was first starting. She's like, "Oh, give me a couple minutes. I'll be right back." And I was not going, I should have kept going through in and out of my nose, but I was like, calm down. Don't be like, just the complete idiot. It went great. She is absolutely lovely. And so it was like that one of where, it's people are always like, oh, they even said that in Hannah, oh, you don't want to meet your, your stars, your whatever your thing. No, it was amazing meeting her. She, like I say, she was just absolutely fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. And oh my God, she is beautiful. Beautiful.
Well, I'm looking forward to listening to that one as well. So, and great interviews with Dylan. So I've had people compliment those as well. Just Dylan's openness and just honesty.
And we finally, after 2 episodes, finally get him nailed down where he's going to be talking about all the episodes of Gourmet Detective, which is what we were trying to do. But
but I think that, everything that he shared, I find to be absolutely fascinating.
Yes.
I think many people do too, because it really pulls the curtains back. And then it also sees where, like, some of the stuff when we critique it, you can also see like, it's not their fault. Like, this is why some things fell flat, is budget reasons, or, their hands were tied with the script. And I think all of that is fascinating.
I'm not saying it was they were great. And we talked about it before. That first interview went totally sideways on us, but couldn't have went a better way, right? Just kick back, let him talk. It was fantastic. And same thing with this one. It was supposed to be 2 little questions for 10 minutes and then get into the Gourmet Detectives. And it turned into an hour of him riffing on all sorts of stuff that was absolutely fast. Like when he was talking about like what a actor's job is auditioning. Like they maybe work 4 days if they had a great year. Like fascinating stuff that, like I said, he doesn't hold back. He shares everything, which is great. I'm just saying, like, what we're trying to do is, hey, let's talk a little Gourmet Detectives. So we finally do it, and it's fun. And once again, He does the same thing when we talk about the Gourmet Detectives. We talk a little bit about the show, but he really gives like, you want behind the scenes, you're going to get it.
Great. Well, it's been a pleasure.
It has been a great time. And sorry you didn't like the Hannah Swensen as much. It's kind of a drag. You had to wait for what, 2 months from Mistletoe, and then you first one out of the gates, disappointing. And then your next one's going to be a one you're not necessarily looking forward to. All right. I, on the other hand, am loving life. So I'm sorry.
Hey, as long as the Timberwolves win, I'm loving life too.
And you go to Peacock and watch some Murder, She Wrote.
There we go.
See you later, Andrea.
Bye.